Well, Ann Coulter, of course, a best-selling author, great columnist. Have you read her book, In Trump We Trust? You should get that book. Millions of weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. You go to AnnCoulter.com. You can get everything there. Of course, follow her on Twitter. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fantastic after last night's speech, Mark Simone.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was a great speech, but then I went on Facebook and the liberals were exploding. They were hysterical, so it must have been good. And then you know how I knew it was great? MSNBC cut away from it.
And there were screenshots on Twitter last night of, like that Brady Bunch panel of all the faces on CNN, and all of them were very long, very, very sad. Just 10 minutes ago, and I just tweeted this out because it made me laugh out loud. The hostess on MSNBC, her commentary on the rally was, "Is the president winning at hate?"
No, he's not. The media still beats him with hate.
I know. And by the way, for those of you with jobs, the funnest thing about daytime TV is they tend to be even dumber than the primetime people, so you get some hilarious things said, both by the hosts and the guests. But I do want to point out to you, Mark Simone, well, number one, Trump needs to hold these rallies, or as I call them, the Trump focus groups, once a week to keep him in line, because I was not so happy Monday night with Trump breaking his promise on this endless, pointless human meat grinder in Afghanistan. And if you haven't noticed, whenever Trump breaks his promises, he becomes your president. It's when he keeps his promises that he is my president.
Well, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, he is going to pardon him. He made that clear.
He did, but I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is the cynical holding the president's feet to the fire, Ann Coulter. He also promised to build the wall, to deport illegals, to pull out of the war in Afghanistan, to end the carried interest loophole, to pull us out of NAFTA. I don't know that I'd be that comfortable if I were Sheriff Joe now. And your president better understand that he can't keep giving these beautiful speeches that really are focus groups and ought to be reminding him he knows he has the most amazing political instincts of anyone I've ever seen. He knows what the public wants, and then he gets to Washington and he hires an entire White House staff and cabinet that are ferociously opposed to every aspect of that agenda. So, I mean, as I tweeted last night, I think the only thing that can overcome the swamp and Trump's own White House staff is for him to have these weekly rallies.
Well, he did that in the Trump organization for years. When he would hire executives, he'd often hire away the city guy he was negotiating against, the bureaucrat that he was fighting. He'd bring them in, and he'd somehow turn them around. He'd convert them after a while. I
promise you he is not converting Gary Cohn on the carried interest loophole for hedge fund managers.
That's true. So, but it reminded me of the Gold Star family. They'd bring them on, and for 20 minutes they would trash Trump. They would call him the worst things in the world. And then they would cut to Trump, and they'd say, well, what do you say about that? And he'd say, well, they're wrong. They don't know me. Then all you'd hear about was how he attacked this family.
Yes, yes.
That the media trashes him 24 hours a day, and he's not allowed to respond?
Yes, actually, on the Gold Star family, i.e. the snarling Muslim, that was one where it was a lot like, as you and I talked about this weekend, it was a lot like Charleston, where the media think they are so on their high horse. Oh, and Alicia Machado, the chubby Hispanic woman who drove the getaway car for an attempted murder in Venezuela, and that was supposed to be our little darling, along with the snarling Muslim, along with Antifa, that Hillary mentioned in the last debate. Remember, that was the one that Trump allegedly fat-shamed Alicia Machado, and then instantly we find out, A, Trump didn't fat-shame her, B, she had sex on TV while dating some professional baseball player in America, and C, she a single mother, whom we're supporting now here. She drove the getaway car for her boyfriend, who shot at, like, I don't know, his mother-in-law or something. The media get on their high horses thinking, we have these adorable baby seals, and whoa, we are totally sticking it to Trump. And everybody on cable TV says how mean Trump is and how horrible he is because look, he was mean to our baby seal, Antifa, or the snarling Muslim, or Alicia Machado, and the entire public is on the other side. I mean, even people who might be inclined to vote Democratic, these were huge winning issues for Trump. The media really, in a lot of ways, have been his best friend because they're so utterly clueless about what kind of country they're living in, or, basic human nature.
They're doing it right now with the statues, this war on statues. And here in New York, they want to take down Columbus's statue, a Grant statue.
My favorite, the tiles that resemble Confederate flags. We'll get to the constant derailments next year. But don't worry, you won't glance upon a tile that you can't see anyway. They're covered with scum and dirt. But the trains will keep derailing, but we will get rid of any tiles. Random tiles that appear to resemble a Confederate flag. That's what they're doing in New York City.
Yeah, but how could they not know that this makes them look ridiculous? Like
like the Taliban, like Stalin. No, it's really awful. It's also worth pointing out, this is not coming from African Americans. It never is. It's always, the whitest person in the room. My favorite tweet that I retweeted was, I think James Toronto of the Wall Street Journal had sent out as a quote from this woman who was showing up to protest free speech in Boston, and they had labeled these 10 people, literally like 10 people gathered in a little gazebo. They had labeled them Nazis. They were nothing of the sort. They were there to support free speech. And this woman described why she had brought her 5-year-old and 7-year-old and said, well, I send them to private schools, so I just think once in a while we have to come out and do something for African Americans. Oh my gosh, could they be more head up their butts? They spend are we grasping this? Tens of thousands of dollars a year to keep little kids away from any mingling with African Americans, sending them to the most lily white schools. Hey, I have an idea for this soccer mom, social justice warrior. You could have your kids mingle with African Americans, and I could save you $20,000-$30,000 a year. Don't send them to precious lily white private schools.
Hey, before we run out of time, we got like a minute left. The Ditch Mitch effort. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a distraction. I mean, definitely, I love that Trump is going against Jeff Flake. We've got to get, you can see the Republicans we need to get rid of. They're footnoted in Adios America, the 14 Republicans who voted for amnesty in the United States Senate. But it's kind of a distraction. One of his brilliant political instincts during the campaign, one of the brilliant things about Trump was 99% of his promises require zero congressional involvement. Building the wall, deporting illegals, ending the carried interest loophole, pulling out of NAFTA. So, the blame for Congress, don't get me wrong, I hate them, but we elected this man for a reason to get things done, and he really does need to get things done. If he hasn't fulfilled these promises come this time next year, he'll be wiped out. Republicans will be wiped out. He can't separate himself from what's happening here, especially if he lays it at the feet of Congress. We'll be wiped out in the midterm elections. People will finally figure out it's all just speeches, if this is true. It's not the action, and if we lose a majority in Congress, he's impeached faster than your head can spin.
Oh. All right. Well, that's good points there. Good point. He'll get it done. Everybody should get Ann Coulter's book. If you never read the book, In Trump We Trust, it's the best Trump book out there. And the new column comes out tonight, right?
Yes, it does. I had to rewrite it after that speech last night.
Oh, then it's going to...
It was a little cross with the Emperor God after Afghanistan.
Oh, it's going to be really good then. And if you go to AnnCoulter.com, if you sign up there, you'll be the first to get the column, AnnCoulter.com, and follow her on Twitter and Facebook. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark. Bye-bye.
Take care.